right, good evening. This is the Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board for May 13th. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. We're going to go ahead with the roll call.
Rodney Davis, James Bruce, Tyler Young, Tony Meacham,
Here.
David Howell,
Here.
Cowan Brooks, Connie McGahee. Here. Mark Graham.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. If everyone would, please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is approval of minutes from our March 25th meeting. Board members will entertain such a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any reports from staff this evening? Not seeing any. So we've got two hearings on the agenda tonight, and there are some opening remarks that we will read to open. But before I get to that, I just would like to know if either or both parties are here, so that if someone is not, we could skip to the one that has presence here tonight first. So, Jamin Brisby, anybody here? Jamin Brisby. Okay. Thank you. And then J&P Investment Group. Is that you guys? Okay, that's you can keep your seat. So, I'd like to move agenda item 6B up ahead of 6A, if that is acceptable to the board. Do we need a motion for that? Can we get a motion to get them ahead?
So moved.
And Connie seconded it. Any questions? All in favor by the sound of aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And before we get to the hearings, these opening remarks. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Howell. I am the chairman of the City of Hopkinsville's Code of Ordinance Enforcement Board. The purpose of this board is to protect, promote, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens residing within the City of Hopkinsville. If a board member perceives a potential conflict with hearing a case, he or she shall recuse themselves from the case and will not discuss their disposition. When your name is called, please come forward. Speak loudly and clearly, because we are required to record all proceedings from these hearings. You're here tonight because you received a citation and chose to appear before the board instead of paying the fine imposed on the citation. You have the right to confront and cross-examine any witnesses that might appear here against you. You have the right to call your own witnesses to testify on your behalf and to introduce any physical evidence you feel pertinent to this case. You have the right to an attorney. If you wish to hire one to represent you, let me know that, and I will request the board to postpone your case to enable you to do so. I have the right, as chairman of the board, to limit the amount of testimony which is presented. That shall be done when I determine that certain testimony is irrelevant or repetitive. This is not the same as a court of law, and legal rules of evidence do not have to be followed. This is similar to an administrative hearing, and the rules for the introduction of evidence are not as stringent as in a court of law, but they are nonetheless just as important to ensure a just decision. You shall be afforded all rights which are of fundamental importance to comply with due process standards of fairness and justice. The burden of establishing that the violation occurred rests with the city. If the city cannot prove that a violation took place, no fine or remedial measures may be imposed. After all the evidence and testimony have been introduced and the hearing has been closed, the board will make a decision. The board will decide whether or not a violation of a local ordinance has been committed. If the board determines no violation was committed, then this board will enter an order dismissing the citation. If the board determines that a violation did take place, the board will enter an order upholding the citation and will order you to pay a fine in an amount up to the maximum authorized by ordinance, and may order you to remedy the violation within a specified period of time. In cases involving unsafe structures, the board, as a part of its discussion and written order, may additionally make a provision for the offender to cure the violation within a period of time not to exceed 90 days, pursuant to HCO 33.188F. Except in cases of default, any final order issued by the board may be appealed to the Christian District Court. The appeal must be filed no later than 30 days from the date the board issues its final order. The case in front of the Christian District Court will be limited to a review of the record created before this board. If you have any questions at this time, please feel free to ask. Seeing no questions, we will proceed to agenda item 6B, which is case number CE BPM 2504003, J&P Investment Group, 1007 East 7th Street for unsafe structure. We'll begin by swearing in the code enforcement officer and also the property owner. So if you would, just where you are, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do. Very good. You guys can please have a seat. Mr. Rogers, if you would step forward. Please state your full name, employer, and position for the record. All right.
Check.
Please describe the procedure followed for each citation you are going to present.
This property is deemed an unsafe structure.
Okay, and then were the procedures mandated by Chapter 33 of the Code of Ordinances followed for this case?
Yes.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
All right, good evening. This property, I think, Chairman, you mentioned East 7th Street. I believe it's East 9th Street, 1007 East 9th. Anyways, as you can see on your screens, the property is highlighted in purple. It's near the intersection of where McLean meets 9th, meets Broad, right kind of catty corner to the old Belmont Elementary School for familiarity purposes. This is the property that we're discussing tonight. There's a green multifamily apartment. This is a Google Street View of the property in July of 2023, and the house fire occurred March 17th, 2025. Again, the property in purple, and then GIS information that we pulled from Excel. Here are some photos of the property in question. So our firefighters were toned out to this residence for a suspected structure fire on March 17th. It was a midday around 11 a.m. We had multiple callers on it saying that they smelled what smelled like burning plastic. This was some arrival photos shortly after our crews got on scene and began to conduct fire operations. The legal notice that was published in the newspaper, and then the citation that was posted on the front of the property with specific dates. So this is going to be Chapter 163, Basic Property Maintenance, Section 303. I would like to go ahead and state, too, that Mark, Code Enforcement Department, and myself kind of worked together on this property. He started the inspection and then realized that it was involved in a house fire. I was actually on vacation away from the office when he started the inspection. Once I arrived back, we kind of collaborated, and I told him that I would take the case. So some of the photos that you'll see are photos that I took on the day of the fire, and some photos you'll see are what he took on the day of the inspection. So we'll start with a few from the fire itself. You'll notice circled in red was where the bulk of the visual damage of where the fire occurred from outside the property, and then a photo that was taken from inside one of the bathrooms of the apartment. I believe this was apartment number 5, I believe, the way they are numbered. I made this diagram to kind of give you a visualization of the apartment. So the apartment is broken up into 7 different units. We believe that 2 of the units are on the top floor. They're highlighted in blue. And then the rest of the apartments, 5 of the apartments are located on the first floor. There's a stairwell on the left side, we'll call it the B side, as you'll see, and then a stairwell on the A side. So the stairwell on the A side is the main front door of the property. Once you open that door, the door opens to apartment 6, and then it goes upstairs to 2 apartments. Every other apartment is, for the most part, primarily accessible from the ground floor. The fire icons you see on the left on apartment 1 is where we believe that the fire originated. We believe it to be electrical in nature, somewhere around the stove in the kitchen. We don't believe that it was a cooking fire. We believe it was some sort of electrical that caused that fire. The fire vented up top of apartment 3 is where you see the photos from the previous slide. So I stand corrected, apartment 3. That's where the fire vented out. So the fire pretty much traveled the width of the apartment through void spaces. So that I just included that in there to give you a little bit of a visualization of how this house is broken up. The official fire report stated that there were 8 adults and 2 children that reported to have been living on site, according to that report, and Red Cross was called to assist them with housing after the fire. Again, you'll notice the dates. So these are the pictures that I took on the day of the fire. This was the basement crawl space cellar on the left-hand side of the screen there, looking towards some water heaters. As you can tell underneath the floor joists, the wiring is very concerning to us. There's wires all over the place. It would take days to figure out what went to what. And then the OPIT fuse box there, that was just as we found it on the day of the fire. Moving into some apartments, I believe this is apartment number 6. This was on the left-hand side. Very hard to tell because we had already shut the power off to this property, but the ceiling of that property was very sagged, was sagging very low. Evident there's water coming in from, I'm assuming, our fire operations, but there was also old evidence of how water had already come into that ceiling of that property. On the right-hand side, another visual from the basement cellar slash washer dryer water heater area of some loose bricks and foundation issues that we noticed under there that were very concerning. Moving through, this is what was reported to us as supposed to be a vacant apartment at the time of the fire. Just noted some of the material that was used to fill voids in this apartment. There could be like expanding foam on every single option it seemed like they could put it in. And then an open window that was opened by us at the time to kind of help vent some smoke. This was the bathroom of that same apartment. Some concerning issues there in the bathroom. The plumbing did not seem operable at the time of this apartment. It seemed like it had been in this state for a long time. I would like to note, and you'll see some photos later, that it appeared that someone had been living in this apartment. There was a mattress on the floor with blankets and a pillow and a chair, and I think the party manager mentioned that they had trouble getting people to get out of there. They kick them out, and then they come back in. So I can't confirm that there was someone living there at the day of the fire, but there was definitely evidence that someone had been sleeping there. Some open junction boxes, exposed Romex. I believe this was taken in a hallway between the 2 upper floor apartments that were there. This was just some of the wiring that we noted. Again, more evidence of water damage previous to the fire through one of this apartment. I believe this was a downstairs apartment. And at the time, we did not hear any working smoke detectors on arrival. This is how we found one of them on the ceiling. I don't believe that it was going off or in any working order. Some exterior photos. So this is from Code Officer DeArmond. He took some of these photos, again, while I was out of town. This was taken on April 9th. This is just some of the exterior old plywood boarded up on some of the windows, some open windows there, some trash and rubbish that has been allowed to accumulate around the property. Some other concerns that Code Enforcement Department noted was some cracks in the foundation and the brick that are noted there in a circle and a square. The gas meter had been removed as of April 9th. I can't confirm that it was there on the fire. I know we requested the gas company to respond to the location to secure the gas. I want to say that the gas was already secured, but I can't say with certainty. I did call Atmos this week, and they had no record of the utility coming out on the day of the fire. They just had record on when the gas was cut off, which was a few weeks after the fire. So our fire report didn't note that Atmos was on scene. However, Atmos was requested during the fire. No electric meters were present. And then in the circle there is the open door that was noted to going in where the original photo saw the water heaters and the wiring underneath the floor joists, the decaying foundation and brick that were broken. That is circled there just as it was open as we found it. And that photo was taken today during the final inspection. Again, April 9th, more broken windows. Here's another photo of the supposedly vacant apartment that had a lot of the foam insulation that you saw. Was supposed to be vacant at the time of the fire. Residents and the property manager reported that there was evidence of someone sleeping there. And as you can tell, you would safe to assume that based on this photo. Another photo of similar to what we posted earlier. Just some really significant fire hazard concerns underneath this home. It did, like I said, it did have water heaters. We assume that they work, but we could not confirm. Another issue that we noted, and this was taken on May 7th, so this was just another day that we stopped by just to kind of check on the property. We did regular drive-bys to make sure that it was staying vacant. People weren't living in it. We noticed that the door was open to this space that was behind the carport, and then it looks like someone broke the bricks out to maybe fix a plumbing issue and just never put them back. This was kind of like a storage closet of sorts on the back side of a carport, it seemed like. That was just open for us to look in. So this is the where the fire originated, what we believe the fire originated along this wall. A lot of the damage you see on the wall is done by us. Since we noticed that the fire did travel from this apartment to the other side of the structure, we spent a lot of time making sure that the fire was completely out. Now, all the other items and clothing and stuff, of course, that was kind of like that when we got there. But the damage you see along the wall was caused by us making sure that we had the fire out. But that's where we think it originated, and this was taken on May 7th. Now into the checklist. Like I said, Code Enforcement Officer DeArmond helped us do this checklist. We agreed on everything after I got back from vacation. Building exterior, foundation has cracks, yes. Exterior walls are out of plumb. Holes exist, yes. The balcony porch that was used on the B side of the structure seemed to be in decent shape. So we were able to give some credit there. The roof in a lot of areas did seem unsecured and sagging. Windows were broken, doors were not secured. One of the main concerns that we had on the day of the fire is, first off, making sure we had life safety concerns taken care of, but making sure that these folks did not go back into the structure after we left. So we placarded each individual apartment with an unsafe placard. and to make sure that they're aware that they were not allowed back in. However, every time we went back over there, there were apartments that were open, and we were able to walk right in. Today, on the final inspection, I noted 2 apartments. On May 7th, I noted 3 apartments. So that were easily accessible just to walk right in. And that's a concern for us. Interior of the structure, electrical, gas, and plumbing, scored a 9 out of 11 with 82%. There are some significant concerns with this structure that's noted here in the checklist. We did not count the carport as an accessory structure, but we do feel like the overall conditions of the property has become a nuisance to not only the residents, but the surrounding neighborhood. Conditions are dangerous, and it has worsened since the initial inspection. From what we could tell, nothing has been done. It has been cleaned up a little bit. Some cars had been towed, some trash had been picked up, but we were still able to openly walk around and underneath, and I'll show you some pictures of the unsafe placards that we secured on each individual apartment. This is the front door. Walking in the front door, the door to the right is a very small apartment. I would guess it would probably be 300, 400 square feet total, very small. And then the door straight ahead of you, it goes upstairs to 2 apartments upstairs. So on May 7th, on just, like I said, a drive-by, checking on things, we noted this happening on apartment number 7. So from the front, the door is secured. Walk around to the side, there are milk crates that are stacked in an open window that would believe us to believe that somebody is staying there. They're not going in the front door, they're just walking around to the back, crawling up the milk crates and going in and out. So from the front, it looks secured. However, we feel confident to say that someone is staying there. On the day of the fire, when I arrived on scene shortly after the first truck, I noted two adults and I believe 3 children coming out of this apartment, getting into a vehicle, and drove away. The property manager said that no one was supposed to be in that apartment, especially no children. They did not stay on scene. They left pretty quick and they did not come back. One of the adults did come back, but the female and the children we never saw again. So if they weren't supposed to be there, they were definitely there because we witnessed them come out of it. Termination of utilities. I said water was cut off on the 7th. I wasn't able to confirm if it was voluntarily cut off or if it was cut off for non-payment. They would not tell me. The electric was cut on 3/20. The gas was 3/26. Some of the information from the gas company, like I said, was unconfirmed. If it was, the meter was there, they couldn't tell me. They just said that the gas was totally cut on the 26th. Here are some photos from today of the property. As you can tell, it does look a lot cleaner. A lot of the trash, the cars are gone. From the road, it does look cleaner. The circles you see are open doors that we noted on just a walk around. You'll notice above the bottom photo there, just under the roof, the rain cover roof there, there's a lot of deterioration in that wood. So obviously some concerns on the property being secured and have remained since the fire. Again, nothing's been done to where the fire vented out, and nothing's been done on the, as you tell on the left photo there, of the open window and the milk crate ladder to get into that apartment. So, since January of 2020, this address has had 570 police responses, 17 fire responses, 19 EMS, and I believe, as far as our records indicate, 5 code citations. which is 611 emergency service responses, which is very concerning. There's on the fire report, there says that there's children living there, and the police have gone there 570 times in 5 years, 5.5 years. The fire responses aren't necessarily true fighting actions. It could be an EMS call that got a fire truck. I didn't pull the very specifics of that report. I just had the number of responses, which was 17. So, any questions?
Peyton, on your observation of, say, the floor structure, walking around inside the building, did you perceive, did you see failure or feel sags bounce in the floor? How did the floors feel?
In some locations we did, and like I said, I don't know if that was due to the water that was put in for firefighting extinguishment or if it was already previously there. I will say it wasn't overwhelmingly in each apartment, but there were some areas that had sagging. This was what we would consider an offensive fire attack, where we felt comfortable sending people inside. When things kind of settled down, we had some concerns on some structural stability in some areas, significantly where the fire took place. But as far as the flooring in very small areas, not overall.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members?
Okay.
Thank you. And anyone present from J&P Investment Group that wishes to speak, please go ahead and step forward. You've already been sworn in. Get to the mic, we'll ask you to state your name and address for the record, please.
Victor Bindum. I'm Victor Bindum, the property manager for this particular property.
I'm sorry, would you say your name again, please?
Victor Bindum. Previously been here for the same building a couple of times, I'll be honest.
Thought I recognized your face.
Yes, yeah.
All right.
I should be familiar with you guys. So basically, this property has been a problem because of the area, and the way Justin has it set up is for anybody, weekly basis. It's just a weekly rental. So you don't get the good and filter out the bad. I have, based off the pictures, I just wanted to note that I went over to the property after speaking with Mr. DeArmond. They all should have my number and speed dial by now. I went over to the property on April 17th, and I'm in construction. So what is called a GRK screw, which is a 10-inch lag bolt screw. And I've got pictures of the same doors he just showed there. I have literally screwed through the structure, through the walls, through the brick, when I needed to, and screwed the steel doors that can be secured. There's steel doors in most of them, except for apartment 1. The picture where he showed the open apartment is apartment 1. Apartment 1, 2 and 3 are all on the same side underneath that carport. That door is a wooden door because it's been kicked in so many times over the course of police activity, or just I've replaced that door 7 times in the last 5 years. Structurally sound, we've been talking to a couple of engineering firms that are supposed to come out, but everybody's backlogged due to all the flooding and everything else they got going on. So we contacted them to come out there and look at the structure, the bones. The building's old. Most of it's petrified poplar wood and white oak. So it'll be there another 100 years past what it's already been here. With the exception of this fire, which has been the first major incident of a fire, to my knowledge, because this is the first time I've ever had to deal with a fire over there. I was on scene the day it happened. And the break-ins for apartment 4, the apartment that he showed where there's a bed and the floor and everything else, I physically took all that stuff out multiple times. And, there's a young man named Greg and his girlfriend and 3 or 4 others I've had arrested multiple times to the same property, and they keep breaking in and going in there. There was a picture that he showed of under the carport with a brick wall that's been busted in. That wasn't from a plumbing. That was from them breaking in, and I had secured with the same lag screws, that little door that he showed, I secured that so they couldn't get in there, so they went through the closet and beat out the brick and went in that way. The window that he's referring to on the back side, that is open. I've got the pictures here. The day I fixed it, within, actually, it was a humorous conversation I had with Mr. DeArmond here. It said it'll last 24 hours. This is the picture of that same window where I cleared it out, boarded up. There's the board down on the ground. I hadn't been gone 4 hours. And a gentleman that I had to call the police on assaulted him because he came in from Louisville, and he came by there, and he was assaulted by the man that was in the apartment when there was nobody supposed to be in there. We went over there to clean it up. So there should be a police report of that. All I can say is I've been asked to fix this building multiple times, including some electrical in the other apartments. And I've taken care of this building for the last 5 or 6 years. The only problem I've had is communicating with his mother, trying to get her to get on board to do stuff because he's in Louisville. He can't get down here all the time. And so now he's finally here. I can fix whatever he needs to be fixed. I just got to get the okay from him and approval from you guys. I've contacted Brooks Electrical. He said he can take care of the electrical. I've contacted, again, a couple of engineering firms because we were told not to touch anything or try to fix anything until, they wanted blueprints, they wanted permits pulled, and and a lot of those things I couldn't pull because he had to be here physically to do all that stuff. So he's here now, and I've been here before, so I know how it works. And all I can guarantee you is I literally, and they're in there right now, I've lagged both those things. So I put plywood up, they take the plywood down. I bolted it to where it would take 10 people to kick those doors in. So now they go around to the windows and pull the plywood off the windows. And I've got the pictures to show when it was repaired, and the dates it was repaired. And again, apartment 1 is now open, but when the fire department came through there, they tore through. So you can get from apartment 1 and get through apartment 3 and 4 because the walls are not there anymore. When they had to go through to check the fire, like I said, I was there the day they did it. So as far as the floors sagging, the floors are solid. I walked upstairs. It just needs to be gutted back to the bones and reframed up from the inside. So if you guys give us time to do that, that's my plan. At least that's his plan, to redo it. The building's been there for a long time, and structurally it's not going anywhere. So that's all I got to ask. If you got any questions about what I've done to the property as far as maintenance-wise and what I've addressed. The gas company, to answer this question, Atmos came out there the day of the fire. I called them myself. They came out there and they pulled the meter right there on the spot. I've got the guy's number. He came out there and they had already called, but I called the guy. There's like 3 service techs that are here because he'd already come out there before because we were having some issues with the 2 water heaters down there. He bought 2 new water heaters to put down there to run the place. So they had just been out there 2 weeks prior to that and replaced all that and addressed the gas lines. So the gas was removed that day of the fire. And again, Red Cross came, nobody was hurt. And the vehicle he's talked about that took off, that did happen. Those people that we already kicked out of there, and that's also where they were harboring when the fire broke out. So, I can't say they did, I can't say they didn't, but if they weren't in there, there couldn't be no fire, and the guy took off, and then he was arrested, and then he later came back and we found him in the building, and he was tried to assault him. The police had to get called out there to arrest him again on the property. So, and that has occurred also.
One question I have is about electric service. Presentation said that the electric meter was removed March 20th. We're coming up on 2 months that there hadn't been electric service there.
They pulled, because when there's a fire, they pulled the meters. There's 2 meters. There's 1 meter to the air conditioning unit, which was stolen 2 days after the fire. Somebody came out there and pulled the unit. If you saw in the picture, when they first arrived on scene, you see the unit there, but they literally pulled up to the building and stole the compressor outside of it. But that was the only thing run on the 2nd meter that was on the street side, the Broad Street side. There was a meter there, and there was a meter underneath the carport where it sticks to that little square. There was a meter there that ran the rest of the building.
So has the electrical service been restored since March 20th? Okay.
We didn't turn anything on until we can get the okay to go in there and do any work.
But is it habitable without electrical service.
The only apartments, and I'm pretty sure they can attest to that, that is habitable is apartment 7, because that received the least amount of structure, because it's actually separated, but it's part of the building, it's off to the side. Everything else from 1, 3, and 4 are all on that lower level where they went through, where the fire was going through, and then they had to go upstairs because it went up in the chase, and it was up in the attic, so that affected apartment 5 and apartment 4, which is around up the stairwell into the backside of the property. So those structures, they're not, because, again, they knocked out some of the walls to get through, like the picture where you show with the bathroom, that's apartment 5. So that bathroom, we have to get up there and structurally close that up and redo it. But we're dealing with what we can do and what we can't do. Because we can't touch it until the engineer sees it, and the engineers are saying we're a couple of weeks out, months out, and then, to see what is structurally salvageable or what it can be redone.
Who is your engineer?
Say again?
Who's your engineer?
What was that place, the last one we talked about? Bell. We're on a waiting list with Bell.
Bell Engineering?
Yes.
No, you're not.
Who's that? That's who.
Who's your contact there?
Go ahead, talk to him.
You talk to them, we put us on the waiting list, they're all 6 months out. He's talking to them too.
Who'd you speak with at Bell?
DBS Associates I spoke with Neely Engineering as well, and WBW Engineering, all of them said the same thing. And he was the one to contact the Bell to begin with, but they were the ones that referred us back to the guy, there's a place in Crofton, Arcadius or something like that. And no, we're not gonna touch it, so we're waiting on.
So as far as
Neely.
that goes, you're in a looking for a plan
Yes.
posture. And then did you say you had Brooks Electrical that was gonna do the electrical
Yes.
work?
Yes. Calvin Brooks.
Okay. Here. Another question I have, and I don't know if you can answer this, is about egress. So when you start talking about you're trying to secure the property, and so you're lag bolting through and you're boarding up doors and windows, you start impacting egress. And
Correct.
any place that's intended to be lived in, you need to have ways in and out. And
Absolutely, but
so
during this-
bolting a door in place is not really an answer.
Well, we can't, the thing is, and which I was instructed to do, the most important thing right now is to make sure the building is safe. And it's not safe based off of what happened with the fire. It's not safe for anyone to be inside this building. But these people
They
don't
are.
care. They literally, Mr. DeArmond can verify, they still are trying to, yesterday, I was over there, I called the police over there to arrest a gentleman who was trying to get into apartment 1 again. Because I just happened to be driving by and saw the door open. I went over there, what are you doing in here? I called, the actually 1300 number, and they were like, do you need to stop there? And then the guy was like, I'll leave, don't arrest me, But, it's a problem in that area with the homelessness, so.
Well, I think a point he's trying to make is, Peyton, if the fire department were to show up there because someone has broken in a window and they're living in there, how are y'all gonna get in there to them if the doors are lag bolted? To me, it looks like a safety issue for you guys trying to fight a fire to get in to them. And
Yeah, apartment 7 was mentioned as the only habitable apartment if it had electrical service.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that you can secure the electrical service to make that apartment even remotely habitable. And if it did, we have some egress concerns because the front door is,
That's the one with the chains on it, yeah.
The people coming in and out is a concern for us right now.
Yes.
Right.
We don't know who's in, I'm sure they're in there almost every night.
But that's a concern. So if there's a fire, you guys are gonna have to go in every apartment to check to make sure nobody's in there passed out, smoke inhalation or whatever, so you've got to gain access to each one of those rooms.
I truly believe this, and I said this on the day of the fire. If that fire would have happened overnight, it would have been a completely different story. So why we got lucky was because it happened in the middle of the day. Someone smelled it, someone was awake, someone saw smoke, and we got there. The fire progressed very quickly, even while we were there, to the point where we were concerned about getting more trucks coming. Because the way that house is cut up, the construction used to build it. So a concern. It's still a
Okay.
for as long as it's standing.
And we repeatedly, like he says, I mean, I've spoken with them over and over again. I mean, my biggest concern, because with him being in Louisville at the time, my biggest concern the last couple of months, and you can check the number of times I've called, if I see anybody, and I'm working it out throughout the community. So when I drive by there and I see someone just hanging out or looking around, I call, or I go up and I confront them. Yeah, and again, I've caught the main four culprits that still continue to do so were for the people that were there, and they claim, well, we got no place to go. We put them in the hotels. Red Cross took care of these people, but they don't want to do no better. And he sits over in that park, and he waits till it gets dark, and he climbs those crates. I've taken those crates off. They go down to the Dollar General, get them, and get the carts and come right back up there, and they got a chair now. I don't know if you saw that, but they got a chair now. They get up there, and they got 5 or 6 crates. They stack them up, put the chair, and they go in the window. And every time I go over there, see if they're in there or not, I can't lock them in there, wait for the police to get there. They take off running. But I know who they are, and the cops know who they are, and the canine officer, I see your buddy over here, I'm finna go get him again. So, I mean, they're pretty good about uptake, but they can't waste all their energy to try to do the same thing that I've been trying to do to keep the people out there, because they're hard-headed and they're stubborn and they're homeless. And
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off, but here's the problem that I'm looking at, is you said your engineers are 3 to 6 months out to even be able to come give you estimates.
Yes.
Well, you can't do any work on that. The electrical, all the walls gotta be taken out before they can do anything. You don't have that time.
When he asked, I guess that was the confusion about, he asked Mr. DeArmond before, could he go in there and start doing this? He said, not until you submit plans, pull permits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct, just
I
like on
relayed-
the
which I
other
relayed
properties we've been through.
I relayed that immediately, and I called him on the phone with him there, so.
Correct. Yeah, 'cause we've been through this before, I think, with some properties in the past that, the 90-day cycle, you got it within 45
that's what
days.
see,
You've got to
now
submit
he's physically here,
plans.
So he can hear that firsthand from you guys.
But
because-
it's not changed from any of the other past scenarios. It's the same 90 days, same 45 days to submit plans and have the work completed within 90 days. And I don't see that, you can't get an engineer here in 3 to 6 months, your 90 days is up already.
That's what we were trying, and what I misunderstood about Mr. DeArmond.
I'm sorry to cut you off. You're welcome to speak. I just need your name and address.
Justin Morris, 291.
In front of the mic, please.
Justin Morris, 291 East Lakeview Drive, Mount Washington, Kentucky, 40047.
Thank you. You can speak.
I misunderstood DeArmond when I spoke to him on the day of the fire, and I know he deals with that every day, so that's a normal day, but that was a adrenaline pumping phone call. But I had even asked him on that day, I was like, well, can we start, cleaning it up and fixing it tomorrow? He said, no, you can't have anyone in here until a structural engineer okays it. And that's why I know electric has been turned on and know water and everything. Because I was under the impression that we couldn't do anything until this hearing. And I learned this morning when me and Victor both spoke to him on speakerphone and we talked again in a calmer, more rational, that, I could have been doing stuff, but it might have been throwing money down the drain.
But even saying that, even if you started, the fire was March, even if you started that same afternoon, your engineers can't come out for 3 to 6 months. So that's outside of there, and to get the work done, you gotta have your plumbers, electrical, and all that stuff done. The time's not there. I don't see the time there myself.
I really don't either. So
I mean, if we could find an engineer, I'm gonna start calling around in Louisville today after this meeting, because I was under the impression we had to wait until this meeting before we could actually do anything. I didn't realize this was the last chance. I thought this was the beginning.
So, Mr. Chairman, just so we're all clear on this, let's say that Mr. Morris hires an engineer, and that engineer tells him, I'll be there and have this complete in 30 days. He gets it done in 120 days. That money that Mr. Morris has spent on the engineer is now thrown
risk.
down the drain, correct?
Yeah, that's at risk. So what this board is able to grant in the case of an unsafe structure, if the board upholds the violation as an unsafe structure, and it's your disposition that you would like to restore the structure, because you can either, with that judgment, you can either demolish the structure or you can restore. If your pleasure is to restore, you've got a 90-day window. to complete it. And that's all that we have the latitude to give you. And within that 90 days, you have 45 days to submit a work write-up that's got to be approved by the code enforcement officer. So that 45 days is not in addition to the 90, it's embedded. So you've got, 90 days to get the whole thing done, but within that first 45, you've got to have that work write-up.
CDS is backlogged now, 30 days also, so that's not even viable, because it leaves its records down to now 60 days.
All right, wait a minute, I'm sorry. I hate to keep interrupting you, but we've got CDS here.
Yeah.
How backlogged are you, sir? 2 weeks, okay.
It was back up, we had that conversation this morning.
I sent a document, what we call an after the fire letter, to the listed address that was shown on the GIS information of, we're sorry this happened, here are some things you can do immediately, and then here's a list of electrician, a plan, electrician, how do you plan to move forward? That was sent the week after the fire to the listed address.
And that's a standard letter you send
We
out?
send it to every house that is involved in a fire,
Okay.
that of significant damage.
Okay.
Contact your insurance company. They may have ability to help you start this immediately. Secure the property. I know it sounds like they can't secure it enough. We did send that, we never got a response. So that's kind of why we ended up here.
And I went to him, a couple of weeks back to try to get that list, but Ms. Gresham, his mother, who they're clearly at odds with, who keeps waving around power of attorney, and which she doesn't have now because he's physically here. She's been in the hospital off her own too, and so he couldn't give it to me then, and I called her right there with him present to go get it, and I didn't get that till almost 2 or 3 weeks ago, that letter that he's referring to. So my hands are tied by that part of it, but I can help him whichever way he needs to be, and he has a crew in Louisville that can come down here, that can get it, gut it. They came out there, we cleaned it all up, we got all that part done, and then, like I said, the only issue that I'm ongoing that I'm having, because I'm physically here, and I get the 3 o'clock in the morning phone call from the police department, are they supposed to be here? No, they're not, they can be here. So, I mean, that's what I'm dealing with here until we get the go-ahead, as what we can structurally do, repair. I mean, I can go and put siding up, I can close in the walls, but that still is, his money gets thrown out the drain. If we do that much, and then it still gets tore down. So that's where I'm at with it. I'm ready to do the work as well as the people that he has to
We
do.
all are.
But this is his income. I mean, I got my own company, my own business that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. I just had to work on Clayton's and get it fixed for another issue with the roof count stuff. So whatever he needs, I just need to know where it sits as far as going forward for him to get this place redone. He wants to keep the building as it is.
Okay, I think we understand, and unless you've got some additional testimony, I think we understand what your disposition is. You look like you want to say something. Go ahead.
Oh, well, like Mr. DeArmond, the way he and I kind of spoke, he's like, before you do anything, you just need to get a structural engineer to walk through there and get a report and say it's still structurally sound. That was
And
the talk
that's
we had.
because of the fire department
Right,
posted
correct.
their warnings. That's,
Right, and that's what we did, and so like, I think the building is still structural. I mean, that wood is old, and it's
so you
not
said you
going-
did have somebody come
No,
by?
I haven't, and that's all we've been waiting on. That's why I didn't
Okay.
think I was allowed to turn the power or water or anything
But you
on.
can't, the HES won't turn your power back on until they do a full inspection and pass it electrically. And I'm
And
not an
like he was
electrician, but
saying
looking
about-
at those wires downstairs, I don't see that passing.
All those are cable wires, where cable's been ran 20 times to the.
But you got 1 meter
Yeah.
running the whole house and 1 meter running the AC. So for it to be turned on anywhere in the house, it all has to pass code.
Right, and we were planning on putting in a new 200 amp
Okay.
plant for that. Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, like, if we could get permission to turn on the electric, like apartment 7, there's nothing wrong with it at all. I mean, I would hire somebody to stay there and watch it while everything else is taking place. But like I said, I didn't think we were allowed to touch the building until after we met with you all.
All right, I think we understand where you are. Anything else you want to offer? Okay.
A lot of those pictures, this stuff was done by tenants, like the foam sticking out. The tenants do that kind of stuff, and, it's not always us.
Thank you. All right, that closes the hearing.
Mr. Chair, can we just take a couple minute break till she gets, let her
Yeah,
get back?
let's take a 5-minute break. We'll continue the meeting. I failed to open the floor to the board members if they wanted to ask questions of the property owner. Is there any questions that we have for the property owner?
Either one of you can answer the question. I'm going to throw the newbie card out here because I've not been on the board for too awful long. In your existence as a property manager and the owner of JMP Investment Group, how many properties have you all had that the city's abated in the tenure of your business? Tore down. How many properties has the city?
I've only had to address, I've been to this, for this building, I've been here like 3 times. I've corrected everything from the first 2. This is the one that's still on fire. The other one was First Street, his grandmother's, and that was the only other ones that I deal with him. I deal with multiple property owners, so, but with him,
Two abated.
right, that's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Okay. So 2 properties have been abated so far?
And
Okay.
I didn't deal with Grimes. That's,
Grimes was abandoned years ago. I just bought it for the land a few years ago, and I was gonna go through me and my dad bought it as a project, and we were gonna go through the ICRES program, because it's at the very edge of it, the land is. And then my father passed, the house on it was never any good to start with. And it was all gutted and everything already, but I just bought it for the land. And then my father passed, like, I've got $15,000 worth of blueprints out of my house for a nice 6-plex out there. And then my father passed away, and I just kind of stopped for a little while. And then the West First Street, I hired a woman. She said she was going to fix everything because she wanted to live there. And, she said she'd take the first 6 months, and she waited till the last minute to try to start. And then when it came down to the last minute, I tried to come down here and help, and it just wasn't enough time.
Are there any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Phyllis.
Yes, sir.
All right, this time the testimony has been heard, and the board will deliberate. The question before the board at this time is whether the unsafe structure citation is upheld, or let's open the floor to discussion.
Mr. Chairman, based on the evidence and the presentation, I'd like to make a motion that the property is an unsafe structure.
Yes.
Ms. McGahee seconded it. We've had a motion and a second. Are there any questions about the motion? Is there any further discussion about it? We'll take a vote. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, the penalty phase, so it's declared unsafe. So the fork in the road is whether to restore or demolish. The property owner has made clear that their intent is to restore the property. And what did you say, Mr. Whelan, 350 to 7?
Yeah, the fine is $350 to $700 plus the $200 administrative fee.
Thank you. So it's to the board to discuss what penalty phase to assess here, whether to allow the time period for them to restore the property.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we assess the max fine and the $200 administrative penalty, and we abate the property immediately, because the reason I'm saying that is the safety of our officers and the safety of our fire department. There's kids that could be going in and out of those windows, and I don't want to see somebody killed either responding to an emergency in that property or a kid or somebody getting in there and dying. I don't want that on my mind, so that's my motion.
So the motion is a $700 fine, $200 administration fee, and to have the city abate.
Second.
Discussion. Motion's been seconded by Tony.
Okay.
Who'd you get? Did you get Tony? I think all of them seconded it. Thank you. Tony, the motion and properly seconded. Are there any questions about the motion? All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, so next on our agenda item 6A, Mark the Arman as the code enforcement officer. This is case number CEBPM 25-04-002, Jamin Brigsby for 102 North O'Neill Avenue. If you would, Mr. Arman, please step forward. If you would, hang on, we've got something we need y'all to sign. All right, Mr. Jarman, we're going to go ahead and proceed. Thank you for coming forward. If I've not sworn you in yet, if you would, please stand and we'll swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. And if you would, please state your full name, employer, and position for the record.
Mark DeArmond, Code Enforcement Officer with the Hopkinsville Fire Department Codes Office.
And please describe the procedure followed for this citation.
And complaint came in regarding this location. An inspection occurred. Notice of violation was issued. Time frame passed. Citation was posted.
Okay, thank you. And were the procedures mandated by Chapter 33 of the Code of Ordinances followed for this case?
Yes.
The floor is yours. Thank you.
102 North O'Neill is a vacant structure on the corner of First and North O'Neill, owned by Mr. Jabon Brisby of South Cleveland Avenue. The inspection occurred on April the 1st. Found the structure vacant, found the front door secure, the side door was not secure. And from the time of the inspection and the citation posted about April the 17th, Mr. Brigsby called me on May the 1st. He had been away, actually had gotten married and was not receiving mail. Came back, we talked about this, he was not aware of the conditions. We went from May 1st to yesterday without any conversations, and he and I had 3 to 4, maybe 4 conversations yesterday, another one today. His last conversation is this email that I shared to the board. His wishes were not to attend. He realized the condition of that structure, was not aware of at the time of the notice of violation and citation, and requested a consent release form from the city and that the city go ahead and tear it down. I emailed him that contract, that agreement this afternoon, waiting on his return. If he returns the signed consent release authorizing us to tear down, it's my recommendation we honor that consent and we'll proceed.
Okay. We proceed with the hearing, even though there's a consent release. Okay, we would proceed.
You want to see the rest of the presentation? real
Yes,
quick?
sir. Please.
So again, the initial inspection was on the 1st. You see the damage to the front porch. That storm door and that metal door is secure during this inspection. The side door that was not secure, when I opened the door, these are the conditions that I saw inside. Damage to the floor, damage to the ceiling in the other photograph. And then here's the notice of violations and the citations and the date they were posted. The documents posted in the paper, and then the returned letters, notices, notice of violation was one, citation was the other. The timeline again was initial inspection on the 1st, mailed and posted the notice of violation on the 3rd, mailed and posted the citation on the 17th. Got a call from Mr. Brisby asking how could he save the house. We had several conversations. We talked about the requirements of community development services, talked about the financing behind it and the timeline. Even offered to meet with him at CDS because he was not aware of the conditions of his home, and explained with him, with CDS, here's what are issues that are in violation, and CDS could walk through him his timeline and let him make a decision prior to the meeting. Conversations were silent until the 12th, and then the phone call initially was asking, which was yesterday, asking if we could postpone his hearing for till the next time, so he could have more time to do what we talked about a few weeks prior. Again, his mind was changed. He was given a deadline of 4:30 today, and his answer was the email that I just shared with the board. Water's been off for a year and a half, electricity 9 months, gas service been off longer than what their records show. We did follow the basic property maintenance ordinance. We found some violations with the foundation. We found some exterior. This is a small example of the exterior that we found holes and rot beginning to show up. Again, we get to the porches. You see the overall condition of the porch with the flooring and the ceiling and what's covering the roof. On the back side of the roof, there's a tree that had fallen, and what's circled in yellow is what is a stitching of the branch that remains. The rest of it was cut off. The small photo on the left is that branch that's circled. And it's a segment of the back of the roof that is damaged, but as we go inside the home here in a minute, you'll see the extensive damage from inside. Windows were broken. Again, doors were open. You see some of the windows were covered with plywood, and the openings were where they had individual window air conditioner units installed. Again, the side door unsecure. Front door on the 17th, if you notice, is down. Is indicative of with the conditions and items we found inside of homeless inside the home. A lot of water damage from both the windows gone and the roof damage. There's literally a hole in the floor in this particular photo. There's a hole in the floor in the finishing in the kitchen area. The ceilings are showing signs of openings and holes where insulation's fallen through and mold is coming through in several occasions. This is a site where the tree fell through the roof and caused extensive damage to inside that portion of the home. Electrical outlets are pulled out. They have illegally wired an extension cord to the hot water heater that went straight to the back side of the breaker box. Again, examples of the bathroom and the plumbing fixtures, and you also see where the vanity is falling through the floor, and the rest of the bathroom is inoperable. 6 of the 8 exterior portions of the building are considered in violation, 75%. Interior, including the utility, plumbing, and electrical, 9 out of 9 applicable items, all in violation. Overall, 15 out of 17 or 88% unsafe. There were no activities. Again, we still haven't got into looking at the historical data of GovPilot, but the only taxes were city taxes of $60.24 behind. As of this morning, conditions have not changed. Again, the front door is still open as well as the side door unsecured.
Are there any questions from board members? Mr. Jarman, thank you.
Yes.
So, Mr. Willen, we're pending authorization from the consent release form. Would you recommend that the board go ahead and act?
It's my recommendation that since you don't have that consent and release before you now, to go ahead and make a decision based on the evidence presented. If the consent release is delivered to you after this is issued, then that's, you can just move faster then with the consent.
So, board members, discussion whether to uphold the violation and declare that an unsafe structure.
Mr. Chairman, based on the evidence, I'd like to make a motion that the property is an unsafe structure.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions about the motion? All in favor, let it be known by the side of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. For the penalty phase, the fine ranges from $350 to $700, plus a $200 administration fee. The property owner has made it known that their wish is to have the city abate the property, so we would also need to include the cost of abatement with that fine. We'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we give them minimum fine, $200 administrative fee, give him 48 hours to give Mr. DeArmond a response back, and if he doesn't, abate it immediately.
Got a motion? Motion and properly seconded. Are there any questions about the motion? All in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 7, unfinished business other than hearings. There's none. Agenda item 8, new business other than hearings. We have in order to dismiss a citation. Who would like to speak to that? Mr. DeArmond, we've already sworn you in. This is Cedar Fork Properties, case number CEBPM 2503-007.
This was a damaged roof and damaged wall at the backside of this building, or the Clayton building. When the notice of violation went out and the citation was issued, I was told that the roof was fixed, and I abated the citation. I went back afterwards and the roof was not fixed. Or give them the benefit of the doubt if it's necessary, that it was not fixed properly and the wind blew it up again. They were given a very short leash to fix it and fix it right. I had video evidence of the wind blowing it and it was flopping. They did fix it in short order. But because of that, giving them the benefit of the doubt, I did vacate the citation. When in fact it wasn't fixed properly.
So you're asking the board we want to dismiss that citation because you were giving them some leniency in time, but has it been repaired?
Yes.
Okay. Board will need a motion in a second to carry that dismissal.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we dismiss that case based on Mr. DeArmond's testimony.
Have a motion. Motion properly seconded. Are there any questions about the motion? All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next agenda item 8B through I. Capture all of those in a single motion, or do we need to hear anything on any? One motion for those agenda items, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we move all of the items under Section 8B through I to default final orders with the fine and the proper administration fee applied to all.
Second that motion.
We've got a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, let it be known by the sound of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Are there any announcements from board members or from staff? If not, we will stand adjourned. Thank you.